Hi, it's Thursday, January 23rd, 2014, day 3 of the legislative session in Alaska. I'm Jeremy Hsieh, the producer of Gavel, Alaska. I missed a few days. I got really swamped, had a really inopportunely timed jury duty obligation most of the day Tuesday, and I've been playing catch up. Big thanks to Lisa Fu for filling in for me and helping everything go smoothly on day 1. She'll actually be filling in for me one day a week or so throughout the session this year, so I can do some more reporting and TV production on some of the other projects I'm involved with here at 360 North and KTOO in Juneau. So there's already been some big news. Longtime Juneau Representative Beth Kerttula's resignation came on day 1. Kerttula is the daughter of a Palmer representative, senator and representative, who's one of only a handful of people in Alaska history to have served, or maybe the only one, I gotta check it, to have served as both House Speaker and Senate President. That was Hsieh Kerttula, and that came on Tuesday. So that's big hit for Dem. She's the House Democratic leader. Big hit for Juneau, especially because she's been representing Juneau for more than a decade. Last night, of course, we had Governor Parnell's annual State of the State address. Lots of education talk. The governor's proposing a slate of education reforms in one omnibus bill he said would come on Friday. And this bill, presumably Democrats are probably not totally on board with some of the reforms. Parnell was very explicit in saying that it includes an increase in state education funding for local school districts through the BSA, or the Space Student Allocation. You'll hear that acronym a lot this year, and we heard it a lot last year, and we'll probably continue to hear it a lot for all the future sessions to come for a while. Basically, it's something like a state pays like $5,800 or something like that to school districts per pupil. There are a lot of different modifiers to account for cost differences in educating different types of students at different size schools. That complicate it a lot. So it's not as simple as you've got X number of students multiplied by the BSA. There's a lot of other factors that go into it, because presumably it costs more to educate a kid with special needs in a rural school district compared to the cost to educate an average student in Anchorage. So that'll be a big deal this year, that whole education stuff. For a future episode of Format 360, our new public affairs talk show on 360 North that I sometimes host, I'd like to put together an education panel to talk about education funding and the push to repeal a constitutional ban on using public money to fund private and religious schools. Governor Parnell says he backs that, and Mat-Su legislators, Senator Dunleavy especially, are the major proponents of that legislation, that effort. In order to change the Constitution, the legislature has to pass, I guess it's a joint resolution, to authorize a ballot question that asks voters to approve a change in the Constitution. So it's it's not typical legislation. It's pretty involved to change the Constitution. Lifting the ban would pave the way for a voucher system, essentially. And critics say that undermines the public education system. A lot of opposition from Democrats. Supporters say it's a good thing. It gives parents and kids more choice and would improve the education system overall by making it behave more like a competitive marketplace. If the schools have to compete to get those public education dollars, then the idea is they'll work harder to get it, versus now where everyone gets pretty much the same through the BSA. Anyway, there was a lot of interesting Q&A about it today, particularly in the governor's press availability and the Senate Democrats' press availability, or the Senate minorities' press availability. It's definitely worth a look if you were curious. I was tweeting most of the highlights under at Gavel, Alaska today, too, so you can take a look at that if you don't want to mess with the video. Let's get to the rundown for Friday, January 24th. We are starting with the Senate Education Committee at 8 a.m., where SB 111 is up for its first hearing. It's a bill to repeal the state's required high school exit exam. Basically, if you can't pass the exit exam and you're in high school, you're not allowed to graduate. This appears to be a bipartisan bill. It's by Senator Gary Stevens, a Republican from Kodiak, and Senator Berta Gardner, a Democrat from Anchorage. Similar bills have been introduced and failed in the past. My recollection was the most recent attempt was in 2010 or 2009, my first year on the beat. But the argument, if it's similar, I haven't looked at the bill in detail, but if it's similar to the repeal efforts in the past, the argument for keeping the X exam in place is that it guarantees that anyone who graduates from high school in Alaska has a common minimal baseline level of knowledge or academic ability. The argument for repealing it is that it's an unnecessary burden for the vast majority of students to take that test. They pass it easily. It's a burden for schools to administer, and it's outdated, and that the test's all-or-nothing approach is unfair to some students with particular special needs that make them especially poor test takers, in spite of their otherwise being good students. I think it was Senator Betty Davis who sponsored the last effort, if I recall correctly. The governor said today that he backed the repeal, or it might have been last night. My days are already starting to blur together a bit. We'll cover the Senate and House floor sessions tomorrow at 10 and 10:30 a.m., and there's a few budget overview meetings that we're covering throughout the day. They frankly tend to be very dry, but never know. Also, I wanted to show off that eBook that we put together. It's basically done and ready for publication. We're just jumping through some hoops right now that Apple asks everyone to jump through to make stuff available on the Apple Store. It's sounding like it'll be available for iOS devices exclusively, at least initially. We were trying to publish it to be Android friendly as well. Maybe that's in our future. No hard date yet on when you'll be able to download our ebook. We were joking earlier, like this is our in-house version that we've been messing around with in proofing and just testing. So far this is the only version of it. So you can come to K2 and play with it if you like. It's a very exclusive, our one ebook. But it's been beautifully designed by Heather Bryant here, loaded with the good stuff that's easy to digest and useful and educational and hopefully interesting. Let's see, I'm new to tablets, sorry. Yeah, you get all this information, some history on Gavel, Alaska, how to use Gavel, Alaska, the website, some information about that, how to testify, some just basic information about how to do that, some articles. It looks nice. There's a map of all of the LIOs embedded in the ebook, so you can click on them, find your specific, click on and tap on them, and find your specific LIO and the information for it. Pretty cool. What else we got? Oh, that's the map. What is vote trading? Oh, this was cool. I actually asked the ADN's editor-in-chief or executive editor a few weeks ago. I stumbled across this really interesting article from the 90s about vote trading in the legislature and how some of these backroom deals actually come together. And it's a well-reported story on a topic that I thought kind of illustrates how it works. So we've got that included, reprinted with their permission. We've got some animations showing, how the caucuses are split up, profiles on all the legislators. You click on them, and wow, look who it is. Yeah, so it's good stuff. Really, really proud of it. I hope we can publish this quickly and jump through the hoops we need to jump through to get it out there to you guys. So yeah, it's cool. I'm excited about it. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Feel free, as always, to comment or send me questions. My email is jeremy@ktoo.org, and my personal Twitter account is @jmlshay. And of course, we do our newsy tweets throughout the day at Gavel, Alaska. Thanks.